name is Matthew Kaufmann, and I am the 2020 Kentucky High School Teacher of the Year. And I'm here to ask you what kind of teacher you're going to be. What is your mission in the classroom, in the school building, and in kids' lives? Because you have the most important job on earth, and you need to know your why. Why are you putting yourself on the front lines? Because in teaching, you are on the front lines. Every problem, blessing in our community walks through our classroom doors. And as teachers, we are tasked to meet our students wherever they're at and love, know, and empower every single one of them. That means if your students are behind grade level, you need to meet them there and provide ways for them to climb. That means if your students are way beyond the content of the class, you find a way to engage them in deeper learning and connect them to passion projects that fuel their imagination. That means if your students are experiencing homelessness, you need to find a way to build a home with them in the classroom and connect them with resources if they're unaware of them. That means you help plug your students into the world in a way that respects their gifts and uniqueness, and you help them own their learning and thus their life. Your students are hungry to learn, but they need you to connect the content and skills you're teaching to their lives. It has to be meaningful and relevant to them. It has to empower them to have more control over their story, their life, and their circumstances. If you are a teacher, you are commissioned to develop our most important resource, our kids, our people, our future. And I thank you for investing your gifts, your time, your energy into this work, because teaching isn't just a job, it's a way of life where you can always do more, you can always do better, and your personal and professional growth directly impacts the experience, success, and happiness of your students. You are in the business of empowering minds, of encouraging hearts, of changing lives, of continually evolving as a human. Prepare to work in your sleep as you dream about lesson plans that engage every kid in a seat, and the ones who have a hard time staying in a seat, and the ones who are ready to take a stand for something they believe in. This is a job that impacts every area of your life. When I first started my career as an English teacher, I had dreams that I was changing the world by teaching kids to write thesis statements. Shortly after that, I was organizing poetry jams after school where students performed their work for each other, their families, and the wider community, and a new culture emerged. And as kids began to write about their lives and share their experiences with the community, they became more empowered. We started writing full-length plays and putting them on stage for hundreds of audience members. We tackled themes like poverty, mental health, and modern-day heroism as we explore questions like, how come peace never lasts? We published award-winning literary magazines that won national awards, and kids' lives were changed. My life was changed and continues to change as I work with them. My students and I created the mission of using the intersection of the arts as a vehicle for personal and social transformation, and maybe that's one of the most important aspects of our work, to provide kids safe spaces and tools for them to transform into the people they want to be. I tell my kids we write for all kinds of reasons, to heal, to see, to communicate ideas, and to shape the world. And every year, kids take those opportunities to write what they need to write. Sure, they learn skills and content, but the work we engage them with must help them grow as human beings. There needs to be purpose besides a test or a grade to every single thing we do. That purpose needs to be communicated to our kids. And once we do that, kids flock to the work we engage them with. Together, we create a home for each other in our classroom because it's never really my classroom, it's ours. And we build it together. It's never a me thing, it's a we thing. We do school together. It is a place that connects all of us to the larger world. School is where we learn to play, work, grow, think, struggle, dialogue, compete, collaborate, fail, succeed, and become who we are together at every grade level. For my students and I, school has become a kind of home where we're constantly challenged to become the best possible version of ourselves. Unfortunately, not all of my students felt and feel at home or even welcomed in the larger world beyond school doors. About 4 years ago, a Muslim student of mine had slurs and objects thrown at her one day when she was walking home from school. Someone even tried to take her hijab off her head. My Latinx students faced chants of build the wall around them and shared how they were afraid to speak Spanish in public. My Black students shared stories of the first times they experienced racism and how their skin makes them a target for hate. My LGBT kids shared how alone and scared they felt, worried they would never find acceptance in their communities. And so many girls shared their Me Too experiences. Thus, we started a new after-school club called the Cultural Dialoguers, and our mission was to build bridges of understanding between cultures. Eventually, my students led marches in the hallways of our school, carrying posters saying Black Lives Matter, One Race, the Human Race, and so many others as they advocated for their unique identities. And they chanted things that unified us all, like more love, less hate, our diversity makes us great. And the more leadership my students earned, the more they learned. There were documentaries being done on our work. My students were speaking in front of thousands of people at women's marches, interfaith festivals, a wide variety of rallies and assemblies for justice, and deeper learning exhibitions that we created and led. My students' work has generated over 100 news stories because they are doing work they're passionate about. And when students are passionate about their work, it's contagious, and it climbs to great heights. We took our work to San Diego, California, and Washington, D.C. We presented at conferences and won allies to support and fund our work. We built partnerships with a wide variety of local leaders, businesses, and legislators. Last year, my students wrote every single legislator in the state, asking for African American history to be taught and mainstreamed in all of our schools. My students argued they never learned their history before slavery, and that the history they did learn about themselves wasn't flattering and often reduced to the same things in month every year. Dr. King had a dream, and Rosa Parks was tired and sat on the bus. They knew we had to go deeper. They knew they were experiencing an injustice in their education as they were systematically denied knowledge of their history. They argued this is a mental health issue, this is a civil rights issue, this is a doing right by kids of color issue. And local legislators, Attica Scott, Charles Booker, Lisa Wilner, Morgan McGarvey, and many others listened to and responded to them. And now, that bill has been filed as House Bill 1 and has earned the endorsement of the JCTA Union. The more leadership my students earned, the more they learned. And they were truly transforming themselves and each other and the world with their thesis statements, and their interdisciplinary work, and their bravery and generosity, with their stories and their talent. I've had many students who didn't have the best standardized test scores in the state, but they consistently wrote and delivered pieces that brought audiences to their feet. Robert Greene, the author of a book entitled Mastery, argues, the future belongs to those who learn skills and combine them in creative ways. Your students need to do that. You, as a leader in learning, need to do that and model the way. This year, my students started a children's book series entitled United by the Alphabet. This book series teaches kids about the superpowers of compassion and kindness as it seeks to help people bring their full selves to the places of work and learning. They wrote and illustrated the whole book. It was a collaborative endeavor, and now we have a publisher who has taken on our book series and is working with us. You can buy the first book in this series, United by the Alphabet, at Carmichael's off Frankfurt Avenue in the Clifton neighborhood right now. These students are using this series to process the events of our times in kid-friendly language and stories. They're becoming the leaders we need. The more leadership my students earn, the more they learn. In education, context matters. And I believe we need to help our students challenge and transform contexts that are hurtful to them. The skills we help them develop, the knowledge we help them apply, and the communities we co-create with them have the power to change their lives and the world. We're called to be realistic optimists. There's no room for cynicism in education. We are in the work of speaking hope in everything we do. Every subject area allows us to empower our students' lives in unique ways. As an English teacher, with over a dozen ethnicities in my classroom, I ask questions. Then I have them write. And then we share our writing and we grow our conversation, our understanding of context, and our empathy. The realist in me asks the question, where is a space you've been negatively labeled? And we write and we share. The optimist in me asks, how can we challenge and transform those spaces? And they write and they share. We have conversations not with the intent to win, but to understand each other and build something. And they become leaders in our classroom. The more leadership they earn, the more they learn. So again, what kind of teacher are you going to be? Because we need you. No matter our circumstances with COVID-19 and social distancing, we need you to be the change, not just in your life, but our kids' lives, in our society. How will you impact the stories kids tell themselves about themselves and about their role and place in the world? My name is Matthew Kaufmann. I'm 2020 Kentucky High School Teacher of the Year, and I hope to collaborate with you and see all of the awesome things you will be doing. What kind of teacher will you be?